Hello, Frederick here. A few months ago, I attended the International Pharma 2022 conference in Nice, and I thought I would give a summary of what I brought back home in terms of learnings. And there are 4 key takeaways in 4 separate videos: customer segmentation and why it doesn't work, and how we can create tailored personalized communication, also from the marketing department, omnichannel and omnichannel orchestration. All 3 have been covered in previous videos, and now data and the opportunity to create actionable insights from data. 4 key takeaways. Here comes the 4th: data and how to create actionable insight from data. Okay, so data. It was a very popular topic in Nice, where it was often said that we have as much data as we will ever need. The data is not the problem. Instead, the problem lies in not being able to get valuable insights from that data that can drive actions in a good way. And my thoughts on this topic, and given that data insights aren't really my area of expertise, so let's angle this video as being my thoughts, my reflection on this topic, is that data in its fundamental state, at least in this setting, is created from an interaction with an individual. Something that simply tells us that the interaction occurred, and depending on the channel, it then either becomes possible or not possible to deduce some conclusions. So far, I would say that it doesn't add much, because unless we have a pre-planned context in which that interaction occurs, where that context is aimed at a clearly defined part of the market based on a hypothesis of what will happen in the interaction with that part of the market, we can't deduce very much. But with a hypothesis, we can either validate it or not validate it based on the data. And the reason for this is that we typically go for the whole market, and when that aim becomes so broad, the data that we get back is so sort of diluted. So unless we have those pieces of the puzzle in place before the interaction, we can't come to particularly valuable conclusions. Okay, so first of all, in order to build that hypothesis that I'm talking about, we must have a target in mind, of course, a focal point. And again, we're back at the notion and use of personas. The solution to getting a point, or getting to a point rather, where data can be used to provide us with insights, as I see it, is something that looks a little bit like this. All right, a conventional sales segment, let's say the segment cautiously progressive in the CRM system, has, through cross-functional collaboration, a defined persona that is described in video 1 in this series, who then receives a personally targeted digital mailing from us, which is video 2 in this series, where our hypothesis based on our omnichannel orchestration, which is video 3 in this series, is that he will appreciate it and act on it. Okay, that's the progress moving forward. And if that happens, if he acts on it, we can over time validate our hypothesis that the recipient belongs to the customer segment cautiously progressive, and most likely we can also deduce areas of interest over time for that specific individual. And as I said in video 3, a buyer's journey is never one-dimensional, but has over time sort of evolved into something with multiple layers and pathways that can be used to move the customer along the adoption ladder. And that is something that we of course all want, right? So we can continue to send material to that individual knowing that he belongs to that cautiously progressive segment, but more importantly, he belongs to that persona description during this period of time. Let's now try another thing. Let's flip that coin and look at the other side. All right. If we lack a segmented list for digital mailings, we most likely also lack a persona from which to build a hypothesis, or a so-called business question. We don't have the foundation for a hypothesis that can be evaluated. We then most likely also lack a defined content strategy that ensures that we are relevant over time, where, for instance, a digital mailing is just one link in a long chain of predefined communication steps, and we only do what we most often do: send out digital communication haphazardly to an unsegmented list. What we then end up with in that scenario is data that, as I said before, simply is way too broad and too unspecific. And it's not unspecific, broad data that we want, but it's as specific as possible that we want. With unspecific data collected in a broad setting, it's hard, even impossible, I would say, to come with any actionable insights, right? And it is data to actionable insights that we're talking about here. So to get valuable data, the interactions with the market that creates the data must exist in that pre-planned context where the recipient is defined, the mailings are directed to this recipient, and we have a working hypothesis that the content is correct, which then becomes possible to evaluate. I mean, do you understand the planning required to produce data that is qualitative? And do you understand the time it takes to get all these pieces of the puzzle in place? Delivering segmented, personalized mailings that are orchestrated according to the so popular topic of omni-channel orchestration at a conference like this, I would say that it's next to much to take in, especially on a global level. But again, this is only my thoughts, my reflection on this topic of data to actionable insights. And maybe you have another angle to this topic. If so, I would love to discuss those with you at some point in the near future. And well, with that, I end this last video. And with these 4 videos, I have tried to give you my view on some of the most popular topics presented and discussed in NIS at the International Pharma 2022 conference. And I hope that you got some value from looking at these videos, perhaps even a new way to question the standard way you operate in your organization. If so, I have fulfilled the purpose of creating these videos, and with that, wish you all the best. Over and out.